Hey friends, this is Brian from This Is Tech Today, and we're going to check out the entire Spigen Case Lineup for the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. Let's take a look at the fit, finish, and features. Thanks so much for Spigen for sending out this entire box full of cases. Let's go check it out. So the first cases that we'll check out is the thin fit ones. There is a black one, and then this kind of matte gray one. So yeah, it's a very thin fit. One thing to keep in mind is that the corners don't have a ton of actual protection there. This is really more just like a shell that goes on the phone itself. It doesn't do a lot of impact prevention. It's probably more beneficial for preventing things like scratches or fingerprints on your phone. It's a hard plastic. The buttons themselves are not covered. It's just really super thin. It honestly doesn't feel super premium. It actually feels a bit plasticky. And to add to the whole not premium look or feel, cutouts at the bottom are not centered. For the black one, it's a very smooth feel to it, and then the gray one has more of a matte finish. It probably grips a bit more, but it just doesn't look as good. It's kind of glittery looking. This case has tons of clearance for things like screen protectors, so you'll probably be fine. In terms of the lip in the top and bottom that prevents the screen from resting on the table itself, there's not much there, and if you have a screen protector, it's pretty much non-existent. It's not actually working. Probably not my first choice. The next three cases that we'll look at are all clear. First one is the clear liquid crystal, and it has a kind of flexible feel to it. And it comes with a lens cleaning wipe, so you can clean it off. It's really soft in the hand, and it really shows off the way that the phone looks like. And if you have something like a D-brand skin or anything like that, it'll show that off really well. I actually think that looks really cool. Because it's so flexible, it has a really soft feeling to it, and a great cutout for the headphone jack. It's centered. As a whole, all the cutouts feel really nice and intentional. The buttons feel really good and obvious. The only thing I would say is with the volume rocker, even though there is an indent between the top and bottom one, the bump between the two is not super deep, so you may mistake those. This case does attract a lot of fingerprints, so maybe that's why there's a wipe included. But overall, it's very comfortable. I would say the top and bottom edge feels a little weird, but it's enough that it would protect your phone if you had a screen protector on there. I will say though that some screen protectors may have some issues with this protector. I do have the Whitestone Dome Glass on this Galaxy S9 Plus, and it does create a couple of issues there, so maybe not the best fit for that one. Swiping from the edges is okay. You can feel a little bit of a bump there. I would say if you want to show off your phone and you don't have a screen protector, this is a good option. This next one is a clear ultra hybrid. It's a bit more rigid than the liquid crystal and then the rugged armor that we'll take a look at later on. And it does have military grade drop protection, which is really cool. And since it does have that military grade drop protection, there's a little bit more of a cushion on the corners. The top edge feels and looks really good, and it's not getting in the way of the Whitestone Dome Glass screen protector. While it doesn't feel as soft as the liquid crystal, and it has a little bit more of a plasticky feeling, it still has a soft touch to it, so it doesn't feel cheap. The buttons are really easy to find and tell apart without looking, but once again, the volume rocker only has a slight indent between the top and bottom one, so that may create some issues for you. It's also a fingerprint magnet. The cutouts are great. Everything feels really intentional. I think it's really good. I would say this one's a buy. The last clear one we have is the clear rugged armor, and it's fairly flexible, but it has military grade drop protection included, and that's because of these corners. It's just really reinforced. So the top and bottom lips are quite substantial, and it'll protect your phone quite well, even if you have a screen protector on it, and it works with the Whitestone Dome Glass. The buttons feel amazing. It's super clicky. And if you haven't noticed the trend, the top and bottom rocker have a little indent between the two, but it's not super obvious, so that might be one downside with it. This one also has a wipe that comes with it. The transition between the case and the screen of the clear rugged armor is a bit bumpy. Overall, I think the cutouts are really good, and I like this one a lot. This one's another buy if you need extra protection. This next one is the liquid air, and it's made out of flexible TPU. The cutouts are really great, and the buttons feel nice. Actually, the Bixby button has a texture to it. The angles and cutouts feel very intentional, they look nice, and they're not overly flashy. I actually really like the pattern to it. It's very clean, but it does add a grip to it. It kind of reminds me a bit of the black rugged armor. This one has an edge air cushion design to it, so if you drop it on its corners, it'll protect it, but because of all the extra cushioning on the edges, it doesn't really work too well for my Whitestone Dome Glass. Despite that, the top and bottom lips are quite good. The bottom one is a little bit smaller than the top one, which is interesting, but if you do have a screen protector that does fit within this case, those lips will protect the screen protector. I've actually never seen this one before in person, and I like it a lot. If it worked with my Whitestone Dome Glass, I probably would use this on a regular basis. It's really sharp looking. This next one is the rugged armor, the black one. I've actually used this one quite a bit on multiple generations of phones. It has a carbon fiber design to the top and bottom, which I'm starting to wonder if it looks a little bit dated, but it's still kind of cool. It has a soft matte finish to it and is flexible just like the Liquid Air. It's a little bit thicker than the Liquid Air, but it's mostly noticeable if you put the two next to each other. The top lip is great and it's nice and substantial, and the left and right edges feel really great. It's a natural progression from the case to the screen. The cutouts are phenomenal on this one, and I love the button feel on it. Something about Spigen's volume rockers, it only has that little indent between the two, so that one part could use some work. This one also has an air cushion design, so if you happen to drop it on its corners, it should protect it. And the Big C button is ribbed. So from personal experience, using this style of case from Spigen, the case can start to look a bit scuffed, and it's because it's just a matte finish and it's not a pattern to cover up any sort of abrasions. The next 4 cases are the 4 different colors of the Neo Hybrid. So in terms of the different colors, there's a maroon one here with gold accents. Not exactly my style. There's a navy blue one here with silver accents. This is probably a really good one if you have the blue version of the Galaxy S9 or S9 Plus. And then they have a black one with a space gray kind of accent to it, and then an entirely blacked out version of it where the accent, the black, is more of a shiny look to it rather than a matte finish. In terms of appearance, I would say go with the blacked out one or the black one with the space gray accents. One thing that I would be concerned about with the metallic accented ones is that they would kind of scuff up and start looking pretty bad. So the blacked out one is definitely the number one choice in terms of colors. Now, all of them in terms of the buttons feel really good, but there's no ribbed texture to the Bixby button. I still want a bigger indent between the volume up and down. And then the side edge lip is quite noticeable. I don't think the transition between the case and the screen is good. It does have a soft matte feel to it, and the pattern is really subtle, but still feels slippery for some reason. The top lip is really good, and it fits well with my Whitestone Dome Glass, and the lips are big enough to protect the screen protector. And I would say the cutouts at the bottom look really great. Overall though, not really my favorite design. What's interesting about the Neo Hybrid series is that the inside of the case is a flexible TPU, and those accents are kind of a semi-hard plastic. This next one is the Hybrid Armor. This one has a hard plastic back to it with the flexible TPU accents on the edges. The buttons are not really defined and it is a bit hard to find what you want. There's no rib buttons, and actually in terms of the volume buttons, it's just one giant button. You can't tell the top and bottom one apart. There is a military grade cushion tech, and if you look at the corners, there's actually kind of a ribbed design to it, so that's kind of neat. And despite that military grade protection, the transition between the case and the screen is very nice. I would say if you have a screen protector, you may run into some issues. It's just barely touching my Whitestone Dome Glass. This one is definitely one where fingerprints would show on the back because the plastic is just a fingerprint magnet. Overall, the design is interesting. I would say it has an alien look to it. This next one is the Slim Armor CS, and it has a little slide out where you can fit cards in there, which is really neat and practical. Because of that, it does add a little bit of thickness to it, perhaps a little chunky feeling. With that comes the military grade air cushion protection, so the corners are reinforced. It can hold 2 credit cards. The back is super plasticky feeling. I would be kind of worried that it'll crack if you drop it, but even though it feels a little cheap, it is really convenient. I can imagine this one showing a bit of scuffs on it easily. One thing that I'm interested in, especially with this one, is whether or not it works with a wireless charger when you have 2 cards in there. And wow, it works. The buttons are good, but they're not centered on the case, so it kind of feels a little awkward. They're placed closer to the screen than the back. The buttons do stick out quite a bit though, but the Bixby button is not ribbed, and then the volume rocker only has a slight little indent between the up and down. The transition between the case and the screen feels really good, and the top and bottom lip seem quite substantial. It will protect a screen protector if you have it, and this works with my Whitestone Dome. With that plasticky back though, it feels a bit slippery. This next one is the Slim Armor. It has military grade air cushion protection, a very rigid back to it with soft flexible TPU on the inside. And there's a kickstand on here, which is really cool. I love that. The buttons are okay. The Bixby button does have a textured feel to it. What's interesting about this though is that the buttons stand out because of the smooth edges of the case and then the transition to the buttons themselves. It really stands out. But the buttons for up and down on the volume are really hard to tell. The edge lip is great and not super obstructive at all. It feels decently thin for its ruggedness. And one thing that's interesting about the Slim Armor in comparison to the rugged armor is that the back curves a bit more, so it's a bit more rounded feeling in the hand. The top and bottom lip are good. It'll protect a screen protector just barely, but it's not really fitting on my Whitestone Dome Glass. And the last case that we'll look at is the Tough Armor, and this is the one that I actually use as a daily driver. This one I would say is a more refined version of the Slim Armor. Like I mentioned on the Slim Armor, the back curves a bit more in the hand. This one has more of a sharper edge to it, and I like it more. It actually makes it feel thinner. The buttons do feel really good on there, and the Bixby button does have a pattern to it. The volume up and down rocker has a bit more of an indent between the two, so it's a bit easier than the Slim Armor. The edge lip is a bit more pronounced though, which is a bit of a bummer. And then the top and bottom edge lip is really good. It'll protect a screen protector, and this one does work with my Whitestone Dome Glass. So it has this really awesome kickstand on there as well, and the cutouts are great at the bottom. There's some substantial edge protection on here, so this one's another military grade one. With these plastic backs though on the Slim and Rugged Armor, you can show a lot of fingerprints on them, so I don't know if you can see that here. Both of them are surprisingly not slippery despite that plastic back. I kind of think of the Spigen Tough Armor as the OtterBox version of the Defender. Way less chunky, I would say more stylish, and has a kickstand. If you want ultimate protection, this is the one that I would choose. And like I mentioned before, for cases, this is the one I use every day. So I tested out every single one of these cases, and there's great news. The wireless charging does work. So there's the entire Spigen lineup for the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. Hopefully that was helpful for you. If you'd like to get your hands on any of those cases, I'll have some links down below in the description. And whenever you buy something through those links, I do make a small commission, but you don't pay extra, and it does help support the channel, so thank you. If you have any questions about any of the cases for me, go ahead and leave some comments down below. I love helping you out. And while you're at it, go ahead and share what case you're thinking of getting. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching This Is Tech Today. Until next time.